All right, here we go. Do 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 do. And I might as well set up the accessibility preferences while I'm waiting for the stream to start. So apparently, every time I move the computer or use it as a take it out of the house, it resets all the display properties. So that should okay. That's working now. Are we live? I wonder when this started recording. It will be interesting to see. I'm guessing it started as soon as they started streaming. So there's probably like 30 seconds worth of. Okay, it's missed the first 10 seconds. So anyway, good morning. It's 10:36 a.m. already on Thursday, and this is my "What's Up, Dave" morning stream, where I just kind of get stuff off my chest, get the day organized. I should do these earlier so people who are also starting their day can, kind of do this with me. But, you know, it's working toward it. So I thought that maybe it would be interesting to start with the show and tell, so people who have stuff to do, they don't have to sit through all my planning. One thing I got, this is a new acquisition that I'm excited to show. If you're following my Instagram and uh, various feeds, I got this. This is I'm thinking it's from the 1960s. The patent is from 1963. The design is very 60-ish. This is one of those embossed tape label makers. It's made of kind of light metal that's been chromed. It's used. Got this for about 16 bucks at on eBay. It's not perfect. You can get much more pristine ones with all the documentation and the various accessories. Like you can get different. There's different wheels that come with this. But I just wanted to kind of have a beater one that I could leave around the house. That was nicer than those plastic ones. I don't have the tape. Is you can still buy the embossed tape. I got ordered some on Amazon. It should be here on tomorrow, I think. So we'll be able to demonstrate this bad boy. But I just love the cowling design of this. I mean, this kind of the semi. It reminds me of Speed Racer. The Mach 5 has a kind of fender that looks like that, and so that's why I like that. So this is in my labeling drawer, labels, etc. I should say. I love labeling things. Label making. I should make. One of the things I want to get is like one of those like a little miniature printing press, but I'll have to, I think, clean up my basement. And this is just a lot of other hobbies that I have that, you know, I should either like do something about them or move on. I had to go to the kitchen and check this boiling water here. I've been burning a lot of pots recently, which hasn't been good. Just gonna make some breakfast. It's too bad I don't have the camera in here, but I'll be back in a sec. Just dumping this stuff in. That's probably enough. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Setting the timer for 5 minutes. If I had that wireless controller, then I could just choose different views. But anyway, so that's the label maker with the newest acquisition, and also this morning the Emergent Task Planner. The Emergent Task Planner. Where is it? Is it this? Yeah, the full-size notebook listing is now available. Although I hopefully the printer will be shipping those in. Oh, I forgot to update this. Now streaming. What's up, Dave? For Jan 12. That's my Discord channel, which you can find if you do a search for Dave Say Virtual Co-working. But anyway, here's the listing, and these are the photos that you saw in the other co-working things. I'm not sure why you're never able to get this purely white. It looks darker than I remember, but it's probably a relative brightness thing when I'm working on it. But maybe it's okay. It just doesn't. I always think that these could be more bright. I should really push it past brightness and see if I can live with it. I'm trying to retain some texture. So these are the pictures I was taking You can see in the other virtual co-working streams. And with luck, this will be in stock next week, along with more mini notebooks. I actually had to ask the Seller Central help to rename the old one to 3-month mini notebook, but because other people have listings for it now, like they're selling used ones and so forth, I am unable to change my own listing, which is annoying. But yeah, so that's it. For that, let me set this timer to 10 minutes. Oh, the other timer's going to go off. Now, need to do some organization for the day. How do I do that? All right. And I've got to my Quiver, my notebook. And I have yesterday's card that shows what I did. Let me go full screen here. So I have the yesterday mop the floor. I did some design work for some code I need to do today. I got the product listing done, which I just showed you. What's that last one, day? Oh, the conference call on Skype. Ah, yes, I should talk about that. So I've this year for 2017, I want to catch up with, people that I have known, all the people, everyone I know. Some acquaintances, people who I've met through the blog, people I've met at conferences. So yesterday I talked to two of my oldest friends from the early blogging days and conference days, Penny Glanz and Britt Raybould, and just caught up. And it's been like just about 10 years since when we first made acquaintances with each other. And we were reminiscing yesterday for about 90 minutes over Skype about, what we're up to now. And then I was marveling just about how much, as Britt put it, how much evolution has occurred for myself, and also I imagine for them. When I met Britt, she was just at the beginning of her own consulting career, and now she's like this powerhouse. Penny, is also gone independent and did a very challenging technical project for a bunch of New York State, or maybe not New York State, but attorney generals who needed some database work done. And so she taught herself all this WordPress stuff over the years and like how to code and do this stuff. So super empowering. I was like so happy to see and hear about and everything. I got a little misty-eyed. Fortunately, these thick glasses cover that up. But so that's something that I've been trying to do. I need to write that down. There's also thoughts I've been having on identity. And identity is important to me for some reason. Probably because when I was growing up, I was one of the only Asian kids in rural New Jersey, where I was growing up in Prineville. And then when I was 9, we moved to Taiwan, which is where my parents are from. But I'm not from there. I don't speak the language there at all. Not even still, I don't speak the language. Let me go check on my dumplings. But anyway, in Taiwan, again, there was another culture shock. I was there for 10 years. Came back for college. Another culture shock that I didn't even realize was happening because I was so happy to be back in the United States. To be able to buy books I could read and to be, at the time, this is when microcomputers were the big thing. To be, in the land where the important developments were happening in software and design. Taiwan was great because you get cheap Apple II clones, which is how I cut my teeth in computing. Well, I didn't even realize that I was, experiencing culture shock coming back to the United States, because those 10 years of shared experiences that I did not have with my college peers. I missed all. I knew of the television shows that they had watched, but I didn't grow up with them so much. I saw maybe some Mandarin translations or a few of them. I was not steeped in 80s culture when I went to college. And so I didn't know basic things like, how do you play Risk? I have read about this in Time magazine, but I have never played it, that kind of thing. How do you order a pizza? You call someone on the phone and they send it to you. That's amazing. These are things I like. I would say like, how do you order a pizza? And people would look at me like, where are you from? Like, how do you even? They couldn't wrap their heads around it. They went to WPI, which is kind of a regional technical school. So there were some regionally minded peers that I had there. They weren't mean people or anything, but they just had never, the idea of living in another place, culturally was like outside of their experience. There was this one guy who asked me what it was like to live in a hut on stilts, because that was his image of Asia. You have those pointy hats, and you live on huts and stilts over swamps, or over rice paddies. Um, but I'm just kind of rambling now. What was I talking about? I was talking about the identity issue, right? Um, and so, having a sense of identity has been, I think, because I've been bouncing back and forth between these cultures. I think the thing that kept me was the sense that I had an identity. When I was in Taiwan, I decided, I think fairly early on, that my identity was essentially American, not Chinese, not Taiwanese. I was not happy about being there. Um, and I'm still kind of dealing with that, trying to become more comfortable. There's a level of comfort just because of familiarity, but I can't interact normally, or what I consider normally, with the culture there. I can't buy a loaf of bread without having anxiety about what's the word for bread. How do you count in this language? Will people judge me for speaking terrible Chinese, looking Chinese, or not being able to speak these things? Because I find that Asian cultures, especially toward their own ethnic kinds, because I look very Taiwanese. Like, there's no politeness filter that's there. But the politeness is perceived differently too. I mean, you just say what's on your mind in Taiwan. That's kind of the way I perceive it. If they think, and they don't mean it meanly. If they say, "Oh, you're fat. You shouldn't. You should do something." Well, they'll say you're fat, and they'll say it kind of matter of factly with kindness. They'll tell you because they care. You're fat. You should not be fat. Here in the States, we would take personal offense at that. Like, how dare you judge me? Blah blah blah. But in Taiwan, it's like, you're fat. Is there any argument? No? Do you want to be fat? No? Well, don't be fat. That's kind of the way it is. And I've only now just been able to kind of, I guess, not take it personally. One of the four agreements, what are they? They are be impeccable with your word, don't take things personally, I think is number 3 or something like that. I forget what the other two are. I was okay with them, though. That was the don't take things personally. That was the one that really, really I have trouble with, even today. But again, getting back to identity, it occurred to me when I was waking up this morning, and I pondered this more in the shower, that my sense of identity, because it's been such a focal point for my inner world. Who am I? What am I doing? What does this mean? I tend to think of identity as being this absolute construct, but it probably isn't. It probably is it's quite malleable. I can change it if I want to, or I can change the circumstances in which my identity exists, but the idea of me, I tend to think of me as a absolute reference. And I know that there's weaknesses in that thinking from research on positive psychology and research on just the way that people remember things. There's really very few absolutes in our mind. And even there is the fallacy of assuming that if you're thinking it, you must be right. A lot of people have that, me included. Like, I assume that if I'm thinking, and even something that I'm thinking, because I'm thinking of it, it's beyond reproach, even beyond internal judgment. So, we tend to listen to our inner voices as if they are telling us our truth, and they are not telling us our truth. Anyone who's gone through, I imagine, any kind of counseling or therapy, or have had a bad time of things and just feel awful, and then a friend has to talk you down, or just help you see the other perspective, even if we're not feeling that other perspective. I mean, rationally, I have to accept that my brain is not always telling me things in my best interest. Um, like my brain will tell me things I'm not good enough, or like maybe I'm wrong and I don't deserve to say things like this. This is my brain feeding me crap. You know, so taking that into account, my sense of identity, which up to now, up to up to 45 minutes ago, was something that I considered sacrosanct and beyond your approach. My identity is something that is absolute, and I just need to discover what it is. Maybe that's not the case. Maybe my identity is more malleable than I think it is. And so that's something I want to reflect about. Identity, it's not absolute to be discovered, but it's quite malleable. So that's the thought I had for today that I wanted to write down. Um, that's 10 minutes. This is going on for about 15 minutes. My dumplings are probably getting soggy, but that's all right. Let me just quickly review what I'm doing today and make a new card. Today needs to be a work day. There is a lot of code to be done, and the code for today is project code is playback. This is one, I'm guessing, of at least 2 days of implementing these features because there's a lot of subsystems that come with it. The listing is done. I mean, that was like a 3-year project getting the Emergent Task Planner notebook out, the full size one, just because of the supply chain issues. It wasn't like your three years of continuous hard work. It was 3 years of spurts of working and then waiting for 2, 3, 4 weeks, months go by. A new supplier comes in with a new thing. We look at it. It's too expensive, etc. But we have it at the point now that we can make these notebooks here in New Hampshire, in the United States, instead of in Hong Kong or in China or overseas or someplace where printing is much cheaper in bulk. Print and assemble them right here in my hometown, so which is important to me that we are, helping employ people. But so the code was the major thing. No conference calls today. Oh, there's an optional conference call, which I am going to opt out of. I took the photos. I mopped the floor. I mean, look at this thing. Well, the cats have already ruined it, but it's much cleaner than it was before. Can I move this camera? Whoa. There's relatively fewer specks of dust and crap on it. Let me go full screen on this. Well, there's my floor. Well, pretend it's cleaner. It is cleaner. Pretend you saw that it was cleaner. So, anyway. Today is January 12th. Let's copy these to the archive. Jan 11 was Wednesday. And I'm going to summarize this instead of copying and pasting it because the rewriting of it helps it stick in my mind. Got mopping done. Mopping project done. 2 days. Problem with lock. Need to visit locksmith. Problem with lock, need 2-inch backset. Non-standard. Let's see. Got listing done. M55 typewriter arrives. Black Sheep Cousins group. Or Black Sheep Cousins. That's essentially what happened yesterday. So what are we doing today? Today is January 12th, Thursday. Today is a code day. Need to spend most of the day. Oh, yesterday we also beat Dragon's Nest in the division with cousin Brian and Jason. Dragon Nest is an incursion in the Division. We kept getting. This is one of the harder pieces of content. We built it on World Tier 2, which is not the highest World Tier. It's the lowest World Tier you can do this incursion, which is kind of not exactly a raid in MMORPG speak, but it's like a challenging multi-phase game campaign, game adventure. It took about 2 or 3 hours to do it. But anyway, I need to spend most of the day doing code. I think that's another project I'll do for today is the HDMI syncing. Like I have a new device that will allow me to theoretically strip the audio out of the PC here on the side. And if you look behind this, I have a bunch of wires. This might be hard to see. There's stuff back there. I don't know if it's showing. There's a bunch of like boxes and stuff like that that are splitting the HDMI signal out of the monitor that's on the right side here. And that's being streamed into the Macintosh, so I can actually encode video on the Mac as I'm doing stuff on the PC, which we were doing the other day. However, when I'm playing a game, I need to actually hear I can't get the audio into the Macintosh because it's not being there. And if I try to listen to the audio from the PC at the same time as looking at the streamed version, there's this lag, and the audio doesn't sync up. So I'm thinking that like if I strip the audio out of HDMI, and HDMI is a digital signal, so you should be able to cleanly pull the digital audio out and then run it through my speaker system, then I can get both recorded HDMI audio and hear it at the same time in sync with what I'm doing and playing on the game. Because when the audio is out of sync, it makes the games unplayable. So that's basically trying out some wiring stuff. That would be like a bonus project. What else is there to do? Let me look at my other. Here on the left side are all the various projects ordered by. These are kind of ongoing things, businessly related things, work-related things, and various learning projects. There's nothing really that I wanted to do. I'm just going to focus on code today, I think. So 2 things. Is there anything in the kitchen that I could do? I'm gonna leave this slot open. And if I think of something, I'll do it. Okay, so the less I think about, I guess I could write up the identity thoughts. Identity. Write up. I could put that in my blogging category as a post right there. Okay, so that's my day. 22 minutes in. This is a little bit long, but it's almost 11 o'clock. So I'm gonna eat my dumplings and get to work, and I'll start streaming those coding sessions. So yesterday there was no virtual co-working sessions because I was just out and mopping the floor, and I realized when I was mopping the floor that I needed to be more comfortable. So I was just like mopping the floor in my underwear so I could just bend over, pick things up, and not have these belts and pants binding me and stuff like that. So I didn't want to stream that, and I don't even want to know if there's a market for that. So that's why there's no co-working streams from yesterday. But there should be some today. And they'll be nice and boring JavaScript stuff, so they'll work great in the background for whatever you're doing. All right, so that's the stream for the morning. Have a good day, and I hope it's productive.